audio edition. I'm Julia, and today we're talking to Elise, who just went on an embed to a congressional candidate in Michigan. So thanks for coming on.
I'm excited to be here.
Yay. Okay, can you introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about how you got to GA?
Yeah, absolutely. I am a fundraising strategist and account manager here, and a total data nerd. I actually got the opportunity to intern with Grassroots. Julia here was my boss, which is kind of fun to be back in the same room and get to work with you again on this.
Yes.
And from there, I then spent the 2024 cycle with the DCCC on their data team,
Gotcha.
really getting deep in the weeds with campaigns about voter protection and organizing data across the board. And now I get to be back and talk fundraising data. And really, I think throughout my career, like my most exciting thing and the thing that I love about this and that I want to talk about today is like helping folks with their data. Like data is an incredible tool, and so often like people don't know how to use it or are intimidated by it or it feels scary. And like bringing people into the data fold, that's the thing that I get really excited about.
Right.
And so I'm excited to talk about that.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. And you couldn't be at a more perfect place to do that with Grassroots.
I know, right? It worked out.
Yeah. Okay, so can you fill us in on what an embed is and why it's an important part of your job at Grassroots?
Yes. An embed, it's one of my very favorite things. But essentially what we do is a couple folks from Grassroots will go and we will go to a campaign. You know, so we got on the plane, we flew out to Michigan, we got in the car, we drove. And so we show up to be with the campaign at HQ. And what's really great about that is we're really in the room. So it's not just, you know, over email or Zoom calls, getting fragments of a campaign. We really get to be in the room understanding their overall strategy and making sure that their fundraising piece is weaving into the overall campaign.
Sure.
So it's phenomenal as a learning opportunity for us because I get to see the data working. I get to see what's working, what's not. What are people excited about? Where are there issues that we can clean up? And it's also great for the campaign because they get extra hands in the room, they get extra brains, people who are, you know, tried and true campaign staffers back on the ground in the campaign. And it's just a great boost to energy for the campaign to have, especially at those end of quarter or launch moments.
Amazing. Okay, great. So where did you end up on this embed?
Yeah, we went out to Michigan.
Okay.
We got to support a congressional candidate out there.
Amazing.
And it was really a fun time. I love the Midwest, but I had never been to Michigan.
Okay.
So it was a new adventure.
Cool. So is this district, can you tell us like a little bit broadly about what kind of district you were working on?
Absolutely. This is a competitive red to blue district. This is going to be one of those DCCC races that people are really focused on. So, you know, as a DCCC alum, I've got a soft spot for that. And then also just, you know, as a political nerd, like this is a place where Democrats can really make up ground and do real good for, you know, Michiganders, but also for the country at large.
Right. Cool.
Okay, absolutely. So, you know, first things first, I was actually coming in from New York. So we're going to start the travel day in a little bit of a funky way. I took an Uber to the airport at an ungodly hour in the morning. It was still dark out. I think I got in the car at like 5 a.m. And we hit the road for the airport. Got on a quick little flight into Detroit where I met up with my coworker and we got in the car and we started driving.
Amazing.
About an hour and a half later, we arrived at campaign HQ. We checked in with the staff who was on the ground with the campaign. We did a little bit of pledge chasing. I know we'll talk a lot about that. But just making sure that those donors who we've talked to before actually get that money in the door before end of quarter.
Right.
And then from there, you know, we went and got a good night of rest because end of quarter is a big deal. It's a long day. On, what was that, September 30th? I think that was the date. On EOQ, we got an early start to the morning. I got up, got a little run in, you know, like get my brain fresh and ready for the day. It's one of those things that when we're on the ground for end of quarter, like it's a really long day. It's a really exciting day, but like you gotta pace yourself.
Right.
We met up with the campaign staff at 9 a.m., bright and early, and we were on the phones by 10 a.m. with the candidate.
Wow.
We spent about 12 hours that day doing fundraising between making calls, doing pledge chasing, follow-up. As it got later in the evening, we moved to a West Coast list. We started calling West Coast numbers. And so really it was pedal to the metal. We raised more than $10,000 in that day alone. And it was an incredible experience, both from the data perspective as well as just getting to hang out with these people, like really cool candidate, really cool staff.
Sure.
And so a great day. And then on Wednesday we came back to DC and are ready for a great October.
Yeah. Okay, great. Well, that sounds like just a thrill a minute. Insane. No downtime. Glad that you were able to take care of yourself quickly in the morning with a run. Okay, so what was your role during this crazy 12-hour day of EOQ?
Yeah, absolutely. So most of what we were doing for EOQ was call time.
Gotcha.
So that's where like the candidate is calling people. It's the most traditional, tried and true form of donor outreach and fundraising. So what we were doing is I was double and triple dialing. So essentially everyone in the room with a phone, we were dialing phone numbers. So that way, when someone inevitably goes to voicemail or, hangs up immediately, you got the ball rolling. You're waiting for that number to pick up. And when someone picks up, you thrust the phone at the candidate and you're like, here, talk to them. And it's a little bit funny at first, but you get the hang of it.
Yeah.
And it's really great because we're able to just crank through those call time lists really fast. So that was most of what we were doing. A little bit of pledge chasing. So those donors who the campaign had already talked to before.
Gotcha.
And that was most of the day.
Wow. That sounds amazing. So I guess, like, as someone doing call time, it's a long process and you get a lot of no's. So what happens, like, how was the team keeping morale up when, the candidate was not making money or like you were having a bad hour or something like that?
Yeah. I think that's a really good point that like there are a lot of no's.
Yeah.
Fundraising is hard. Call time, I would argue, is one of the hardest forms.
Yeah.
But that being said, it's tried and true for a reason, right? Like people, it works. It's a pain, but it works.
Yeah.
So one of the things that like we do is, a couple of things. One, on the morale side of things, every dollar counts, right?
Yeah.
Yes, we're calling for those $1,000 donors. That's what you want to see. But it's hard. So really celebrating every time, you talk to someone and they give you $50. That wasn't the goal. We want those high dollar donors, especially on call time like this. But that being said, we have to celebrate every dollar. We are a grassroots campaign. Like this is something that's really like foundational to who we are.
Sure.
And so I want so a good reminder to celebrate those things.
Absolutely.
The other thing that I'll say as a good reminder is like just like with marketing, right? Just like with, that I think people in industries across across industries that we talk about is like people need more than one touch to convert. Right? If you're a small business selling something and you talk to someone once, they see one ad, they're not immediately going to click on it and buy the product. Right? In marketing, they say you need something like 4 or 5 touches before somebody converts to a customer. Same concept with fundraising. Same concept with call time. Right? I think if you set your expectations that when you first sit down for a call time call and you get someone on the line and you have a great conversation with them, yes, we want them to donate now, but odds are high they're going to say, I got to go talk to my partner. I got to go, look at my own personal funding and raising. I got to read more about the race. Hear what other people are saying. Yeah, that's what an informed donor does. So taking that as like, okay, that's a great conversation. In a week, I'm going to follow up. I'm going to add them to my email program, make sure they're getting regular campaign updates and hearing about the race. I'm going to continue to keep them in the loop. I'm going to reach back out in a couple weeks and be like, hey, I wanted to check in, give you some updates, give you the insider scoop. Bring them onto the team and make them more than just a donor, but an integral part of your operation. And I think when you can pivot that mindset to really thinking about it in more of that relationship way, call time becomes a lot more fun. It becomes a lot easier because you're building relationships in a more genuine way.
Right. And I also think that like having a team like y'all there and the folks on the ground helps. Like it's really hard if you're doing it yourself and dialing every single number, but like it takes a team effort to really raise those grassroots dollars. So I'm sure that was helpful as well.
Definitely a team effort, and definitely one of those things that like when we first started in the morning, we all were high energy. We were excited. It was great.
Coffee's flowing.
If coffee is flowing, we're all got our snacks. It's good. And it's, I will say, like, we started calling at around 10 a.m. And by noon, we were like, okay, we're cranking through this. We got to keep going. So we did whatever it does. We pushed a little harder. We all got a little hungry. vibes were not so great by 2 p.m. and nobody had eaten yet.
Right.
So, you know, in that moment, like, I looked around and I was like, we need food.
Right.
We need it now, right? You're still just a person, you know?
Yeah.
Campaign staffers, we like to think that we're superheroes. We're not. We're just people. And so, like, it's a good gut check of, like, hey, get some food. We got some chocolate, you know, and we reset, right? We went and saw the sun. We reset. And it was 100% worth it to take that 30-minute break.
Yeah.
Because we were able to come back with, like, a renewed sense of, like, excitement and joy.
Right.
That otherwise, like, you know,
right,
was not there.
Yeah, that makes so much sense. Okay, so what surprised you the most about this embed experience?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if it was as much of a surprise as, like, a reassertion of what I've been hearing and really a vivid reminder, more to say. But, like, the data really matters. Yeah. You know, again, it's not a surprise. We're data people.
Right, sure.
But to see it so starkly is a really good reminder. And when I mean that, like, you know, when you are in Fundraising Premier, you work with your fundraising strategist to target your data. And we spend a lot of time throwing around different targeting options and words, but to really see it stand out is really cool. You know, we were calling through some lists in the morning that were really strong. We were looking at lists of, you know, of people who are in Michigan who give to primaries, things like that. And that was really great. And we moved to a little bit of a looser targeted list, and you know, in the afternoon, and it just wasn't as strong. You know, and it was a really vivid reminder to, like, trust your gut and follow the data. Right. And it became very clear just based on the conversations. And I want to be clear about that. Like, when I say a list isn't working, it's not necessarily, like, how many people are picking up, but I think I really judge a list based on the caliber of conversation.
Sure, okay.
So, you know, like, you get on the phone with someone and they're like, oh my gosh, yes, I've been waiting for someone to talk about this.
Yeah.
Versus someone who's like,
who? Yeah.
Exactly. You've seen that, what that looks like. You know the drill. And so then being able to pivot back and be like, okay, we need a little bit more specification in this list. And, you know, we pivoted to more specific topics. We got a little bit more niche. And that really, like, drove success. And we saw it totally turn around. Yeah. And so just a really good reminder that, like, work with your fundraising strategist. Ask them the questions. Try lists, and then tell them how it goes. Because that we really can learn from the data and grow from the data. And that's one of the beauties of data is it's a learning experience, right? I'm not going to be like, oh, and I divined from the world, this is the data for you. No, I don't have any superpowers. I really wish. But I can follow data. It's like almost a scavenger hunt. You're like a detective.
You can pull on a thread that's working.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly.
Okay, so can you take a tiny step back and tell us exactly what it is a fundraising strategist at Grassroots provides to clients?
Yes. Great question. So what I love about a fundraising strategist is, yes, we're providing data. But I am never going to drop a pile of data in your inbox and be like, have fun.
Right.
No. Right? I think across my career, I've seen so many times people come to me with spreadsheets and spreadsheets of data, and they're like, I have all this information, and I don't know what to do with it. Right. And so what's great about Grassroots and what sets us apart is it's not just that data. It's that next level coaching and strategy. Right. You know, our fundraising strategists here, it's fun because even, like, I get to learn from each other. Like, we learn from each other all the time. It's a really epic group of people who have been on little scrappy campaigns, big baller campaigns, and everywhere in between. Sure. And we've seen what works, what doesn't, what's tried and true, what's a little more experimental. Sure. And so we can really coach folks through, like, how do you even get your data into your CRM? Yeah. What is a CRM and why do you need one? Yeah. You know, why is a tagging system better than a notes system? You know, how do you search back through your data? How do you know when a call time list is good? Like, we've already talked about that. And so kind of answering these questions that at first feel obvious, but digging in another layer so that the campaign not only feels like they've got their data, but that they feel like totally qualified to use their data and really run with it. Like, I want to equip you and give the campaigns the skills to thrive with it.
Right. Oh, that's so amazing. It's honestly just like about empowerment. Like you are letting people use this effectively so that they can run and win.
Yes, exactly. Like I will never be an expert on their campaign,
Sure.
right? I'm not ever going to be the district expert. You know, but I can be your data expert, so then you can plug it into your district strategy.
I can tell you who to call.
Exactly.
Yeah. Amazing. Okay, so back to the embed.
Yes. The reason we're here.
The reason we're here. Why do you think it's important for grassroots staff to go on embeds?
I cannot say it enough. Like when I get to talk to, you know, new staff in the building or staff who haven't been on an embed,
Sure.
I'm like, go. First of all, like it's a really cool thing to get to go on this adventure. But I also like walk away from an embed knowing more about the data, more about the campaign, more about the state of the political world as a whole. You know, fundraising in 2025, not to say the word, but it's unprecedented.
No,
I know. Terrible thing to say, but it is different, right? You know, I think coming out of 2024, one of the things we're seeing is donors are a little hesitant. They're a little bit nervous. They're certainly nervous about some of these really competitive primaries. A lot of donors, and what I'm hearing from folks across the board, is that campaigns in primaries, like, you know, there are people who only give to general elections.
Sure.
And that's okay. That's a beast of a type of donor.
Yeah.
So how do we tap into the people who do give to primaries, who are voting for change in that way?
Yeah.
And giving for change. The other thing that like I'm hearing right across the board is redistricting.
Yeah.
How do you talk about that?
Yeah.
Donors are nervous about it. What does it mean? What does it look like? And so again, navigating these conversations both in a data perspective as well as a strategy perspective. And those are insights that you can't get from sitting at a desk here.
Yeah.
Those are insights that you get being on the ground, talking to people, listening to the conversations, right? I sat in a call time room for 12 hours and I listened to conversations.
Yeah.
I heard what was working and what wasn't.
Yeah.
And so not only does that help me provide better data to this campaign, but it also helps me think about strategy for campaigns across the board. It helps me think about fundraising as a whole.
Yeah.
And I think it also helps us create better tools and better services for folks that are actually meeting the needs of campaigns. Not me taking out your mic.
It's okay.
That are actually meeting the needs of campaigns as opposed to, you know, like I don't ever want to just be another product.
Right.
That you have to deal with. I don't ever want to be like, oh, I got to get on that call with Elise. I want grassroots to be able to create something that's really fitting a need.
Yeah.
And embeds are a part of how we do that.
Gotcha. When a team is working through a call time list created based on a donor criteria, how much should that criteria come up in conversation? Should a candidate lead with it?
Yeah, it's a great question. I would say it really depends. You know, if I'm pulling a list, where we're thinking about, like, they just got an endorsement, right? They just got endorsed by a labor union, say. First thing, and if we're calling a pro-labor union list, the first thing I'm saying, you know, I want that candidate to say, I want them to pick up the phone and go, hi, I'm Elise, I'm running for Congress, and I'm running, you know, to help protect workers' rights.
Right.
When it's an obvious connection like that, like, yes, like, bring them in. Like, I just got endorsed by this union, help join the cause. I'm immediately pulling someone in like that. I think, you know, when it's an issue area, you know, say somebody who cares about education, it's a little bit fuzzier because, yes, they care about education. They might also care about other things. So with that, I'm going to spend a little bit more time working with the candidate to think about, like, what is their unique selling point? Like, what's their one-liner, you know? If somebody picks up the phone, they hear one sentence and hang up, what do you want them to know?
Right.
Right? So oftentimes, you know, like, folks who are calling, like, an education list, you know, I'm a teacher. I work in this, or, you know, this is my one big accomplishment. If you walk away knowing that one thing. So I think, you know, yes, we definitely adjust the hook to the list.
Sure.
But also figuring out, like, if this person only hears one thing, what is it that we want them to walk away from? Because I don't want them to walk away going, Elise is running for Congress.
Right.
Ever.
Right.
Like, there's a lot. There are 435 members of Congress. There's a lot of people running for Congress.
Absolutely.
And, you know, like across the country, there are thousands of elected positions that are really important. So just running, like, that's not necessarily the attention grabber. Like, why you?
Right.
And so I think it's actually a really good question of, like, how do you think about getting that hook and making it really matter? And it's one of those things that candidates often will come in and they'll be like, I'm running for Congress. And I'm like, I love that. What else?
Right.
Like, and why you?
Why are you the champion?
And so really digging into that and connecting it with the data. And so I actually think that one of the hallmarks of a really strong campaign is when they've integrated their, like, different sectors of a campaign. Like, there's this temptation to be like, communication is over here, finance is over here, GOTV efforts are
Everything's
here.
siloed. Yeah.
Everything's siloed, right. And what we see is that when you actually, like, weave a thread through that, it really matters. So if you're at press conferences and you're having these, you know, like, and this is like the line that you're saying, these are the things that you're really pushing, you know, say you do get an endorsement. You're at a press conference. You do the press conference for the endorsement. Fantastic. Then you go do an event with them, you know, where you're going to go knock doors. Fantastic. You should have a call time list too.
Yeah.
Like, round that out. Bring that strategy in. So where you're seeing success in the comms, like, that's the sort of thing that I want to loop into the data to answer your question of, like, yes, like, let's make sure that the comms is reflected in the data, is reflected in the call time script. To really, like, encapsulate that.
Wow. Either from this experience or your experience as a fundraising strategist working with campaigns across the country, do you think that people in the campaign fundraising ecosystem have misconceptions about fundraising that you want to address?
Yeah. It is, our job with Grassroots is to make fundraising easier.
Yes.
To make it more accessible, right? I mean, you've been here since pretty much the beginning. You know that, like, the whole goal is fundraising's hard.
Yeah.
And let's connect good candidates with potential donors.
Right.
And we can make it a lot easier. It's hard. It is hard to be on the phone and hear people say no.
Yeah.
It is hard to send emails and texts that you've poured your heart and soul into, and people respond, you know, and they say no.
Right.
So I would say, like, in terms of, like, my advice to campaigns on this is, like, take a step back and see how many people do say yes.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot more of that.
Right.
You know, and when you find that good list, and I want you to think about, like, for every negative comment you get, instead, you know, the dozens of really exciting, detailed, nerdy conversations you get to have. And so I would just, like, you know, I remind folks, like, campaigning is hard.
Yeah.
Every single campaign staffer out there knows the blood, sweat, and tears you put into a campaign.
For sure.
And remembering that, like, every dollar and every voter, it matters.
Absolutely.
And the work you're doing is not only creating, you know, the campaign right now, but it is also building a better infrastructure for democratic politics as a whole. So that's, like, my really nerdy answer. I think my more functional answer for you as a misconception, and this is gonna be, like, my little pet peeve.
Sure.
We love spreadsheets.
Yeah.
We need CRMs.
Yeah.
Especially for a small campaign, a spreadsheet is a lot more accessible.
Right.
And what I would recommend to folks is, like, if you need a spreadsheet, rock on, do it. But let's think about, like, how do we systemize that? How do we then, when you are ready, move it into a CRM? And for folks, when I talk about a CRM, the beauty of it is, you know, with a spreadsheet, I have a spreadsheet, you have a spreadsheet, you know, everybody in the company has a spreadsheet. But our spreadsheets aren't talking to each other.
No.
Our spreadsheets aren't cross-pollinating data and information. You know, you maybe talk to someone that I also talk to, but we don't know that.
Right.
What's great about a CRM, or even in building out an integrated spreadsheet system, and it doesn't have to be hard. I want to be very clear. Like, this doesn't have to be hard. Data cleanliness can actually be quite straightforward.
Sure.
Right? It's the idea of, even in a spreadsheet, substituting, you know, just having notes for also having a tag. You know, somebody doesn't answer.
Searchable.
So it's searchable. Exactly. Yes. Exactly. Little things like that, and you can work with your fundraising strategist to think those things through.
Right.
make it so much easier. Kind of cut down on the man hours that you need of like searching and
data entry.
Right. Yeah. Manual, like uploading, downloading, downloading.
Yeah.
Trying to get away from that and build systems so that you don't have to spend hours doing that. Instead, you can spend that time on really having those great conversations, building a strategy, having like the good brain stuff.
Right. A better impact. Cool.
Exactly.
Okay, so you've been talking a lot about data and its use case on campaigns and specifically in campaign fundraising and like data cleanliness and, you know, integration of systems and things like that. What would you say to someone who is like, yeah, I know how to talk to donors on the phone, but I can do a spreadsheet, but I don't know where to go from there, and I'm like honestly a little scared of data.
Yes, I would say you are not alone. There are a lot of very smart people who are intimidated by data.
Sure.
And I would also say, like, we don't need to be scared of data. Like, come on. Like, we can, like, in a really great way, like, talk to your fundraising strategist, work with them, because when you unlock data, it's going to unlock a whole new realm of possibilities for you, both in fundraising and beyond.
Yeah.
So often we make data inaccessible, and that breaks my heart because we can use it. We can use it for really smart, cool things. It doesn't mean I'm going to make you do math. I'm not going to make you do math.
No fast math here.
No fast math here. Never again. I am not a mathematician.
Yeah.
I'm a data nerd, right?
Yeah.
And so really, like, you know, this is about putting numbers and trends into real words.
Sure.
It's about putting it into real practices. It's about finding patterns and applying that at a broader scale.
Yeah.
So work with your fundraising strategist. Tell them you're nervous about your data, but you're excited to learn, and they're gonna walk you through it, and they're gonna really unlock some epic capabilities for you.
Yeah. I feel like, so one of our kind of taglines at Grassroots is building the progressive tech advantage.
Yes.
Yes.
So, I know I work here, so I'm like biased, but like say it again.
Yeah. And it's like, I do feel like you are actually describing what that means in detail for candidates and campaigns. Because yes, Grassroots is building the progressive tech advantage, but what does that mean on the ground when you're in a call time room for 12 hours?
Yes, absolutely. It means less of the guess and check.
Yeah.
Less of the vibes-based politics.
Yeah.
Yes, there will always be a certain level of, you know, what you're seeing on the ground, but how do we take what we're seeing on the ground in a qualitative way and put it into a quantitative system so that we can track it, see the change, and then extrapolate on what that means.
And get better.
Yeah. One of the things that I think is actually frequently underutilized in fundraising strategy and with our fundraising premier option is a donor analysis. When campaigns, I normally recommend campaigns have more than 500 donors, right? We want to keep some statistical significance, basically just meaning like we want to make sure it's a legit pattern and not like a one-off.
Yeah.
When you have a good chunk of donors, let us know. And what we can do is we can look at the background of these donors. Are they all, you know, awkwardly concentrated in one place? Is there like a geographical significance? Who are the other candidates that they're giving to? Maybe you just like have a lot of people who love Pete Buttigieg.
Yeah.
I don't know. But like, you know, is there a candidate or a pack that they're really flocking to outside of your candidate?
Sure.
Is there an issue area that they love to give about the environment? Like that's a big one that's really hitting. So we can almost make a mock like archetype of your donor. So then when I'm building universes, I'm not going, well, you know, based on the news, based on like your vibe, I think that we can actually be like, hey, this is your archetype.
Yeah.
This is who you should be talking to, and build that out in the data.
Right.
That same sort of thing we can do across the campaign space, and that's like when you say building this tech advantage. That applies in GOTV. It applies in in comms and all sorts of stuff. But I really like that makes me excited about the work we're doing here, and I think just in general, like really being able to base things off of facts, numbers, data, and take the soft stories that we're seeing on the ground. You know, you knock someone's door, you talk to a donor, and they're like, well, I'm really worried about this. Okay, are you hearing that multiple times? Okay, now let's look to the data and see if we can see that in the numbers and pull those together.
Yeah, amazing. Okay, so at Grassroots, we have 6 company pillars that really guide our mission-based work. So can you talk about how this embed exemplifies one of those pillars?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm gonna get the exact wording wrong on the pillar.
That's okay.
But one of the things that we talk a lot about grassroots is approaching things with excitement and eagerness, right?
Yeah.
We're in an industry that's kind of like loves to be cynical.
Yeah.
And I think as a Democrat, that's hard, right?
Yeah.
And for so many of these campaigns, there's such a hope and a joy, and that's what I really love about the embed. That's what I love about this work, and it's what I love about talking to campaigns all day, every day.
Yeah.
People outside of politics will often ask me, like, Elise, why do you work in politics? It's like soul sucking. Isn't it terrible? Don't you want to lay on the floor and cry after each day? And I'm like, okay, maybe.
Every now and then.
Every now and then. Like we read the news.
Right.
But the thing that makes me get up, the things that makes me want to show up to work, show up for these campaigns, go on embeds, is when I talk to a candidate who is just genuinely joyous.
Yeah.
Who sees this vision for what they can do for their community, all the way from working with, state-led races where they're like, this is a very specific issue to our community, and I'm going to create this change that people need.
Yeah.
To working with, big House races and Senate races. There's just a joy and a belief and a hope, and it's really fun to get caught in that and to believe in that, because I think there is a better way forward. There is a lot of joy and hope. There are some really smart, incredible candidates running.
Yeah.
That people don't even know about.
Yeah.
That I get on the phone with and I get off and I'm like, wait, I'm obsessed. Like I'm your new number one fan. And it's those sorts of conversations where people tell me their why that I'm like, this is why this work matters.
Yeah.
So I'm really leaning into the pillar of eagerness, of excitement, of choosing joy over cynicism.
Amazing.
Yeah.
That's perfect. I really think that's a great encapsulation of just kind of why we do this work, and really highlighting that there are earnest, excited people out there that really want to change the world, and you get to help them every day, and that's really special.
Yeah, there really are. And, I would say if you don't get to talk to exciting campaigns every day, all day like I am, start to look for those pieces of joy.
Yeah.
Look at your own local candidates, because there are some of them with really awesome ideas.
Yeah.
That is pushing a new innovative type of politics that I am just beyond excited about as a person.
Yeah.
And so I would say when the national news and political landscape feels exhausting, look at some of the local stuff. There's some really cool things happening, and there are really cool ways to get engaged and involved. And so that's always what I tell people, look at those local races. They're leading the charge.
Absolutely. And you can really just see that people just genuinely want to change their community and make people's lives better. It's amazing.
Yeah. Yeah. And you can tell when a candidate really cares like that.
Absolutely. Yeah.
It just goes above and beyond.
Oh, so great. Is there anything else you want to add about your experience on the Michigan Embed or at GA in general?
You know what? I'll just say, one of my favorite things about GA is that we are a place of innovation.
Yeah.
And so it's fun to get to work with new campaigns, new people, and really get to learn something new every day from campaigns, but also from my colleagues and coworkers. And so really just continuing to think about how do we innovate in this space? How do we make campaigning better? And how do we really be a force for good in this space? So that's, my personal little excitement and bias about working at GA.
That's why you're here.
It's why I'm here. And so just that really brings me joy, and is again one of those pieces that I love about this work.
Cool. Well, thank you so much for coming on. It was great to hear about your experience. If you are someone who is looking to fundraise for a run for office, let Elise be your fundraising strategist.
Come hang out with me. It'll be fun.
She'll come hang out with you at your campaign office.
Yeah, I will. It'll be epic.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me.